I had a discovery call this morning with someone who is dreading December. And they're not dreading it because of anything related to work. It's not because of the weather. It's not even because of the expenses that come with December. They're dreading it because of the questions that come with December. When are you getting married? Why don't you have your own car yet? When are you finishing your studies? When are you going to have children? What are your plans for next year? When this, when that. And the constant comparison to the cousin who's just bought a really big house and where is yours? To the friend who is now about to get married and where is your spouse? Where is your husband? Where is your wife? And the thing is, it does not even matter if these questions come from a place of genuine concern or judgment, because let's be real, some people are just spicy for no reason. But the thing is, when you hear it over and over again, it gets to a point where sometimes you're even triggered just by the question, regardless of the intent behind it. And so today, I want to give you 3 ways in which you can start to think about and respond to these questions so that you protect your peace, but also you are not burning any bridges, but most importantly, you're not shrinking yourself. Because I believe that you also deserve to enjoy December, just like everyone else. Before we get into it, let's talk about why these questions hit different, especially in December. The first reason is that you are already being compared to somebody else. December, especially in South Africa, is such a festive season. We have gatherings, we have weddings, we have so many functions, family reunions. And so you're already sitting in the lounge, you're sitting in the room, you're sitting with friends and family, and it's just this one's achievement being spoken about. Did you hear so and so got promoted? Did you hear she finally got engaged? Did you hear that they're pregnant with their first child? Did you hear that they bought this massive house, their dream house? Did you? And so because everyone is just sharing these big highlights, automatically that comparison starts to set in already. Reason number 2 is that December naturally is just a reflection time. So many people are taking stock. What did I do this year? What were my goals and New Year's resolutions? How am I tracking against them? And so naturally, because of that reflection, when we hear these questions or when we're around these conversations, sometimes it might even, trigger you a bit or even open up a wound. Reason number 3 as to why they hit different is that normally it comes from people that you can't just cut off. It is your mom's friend, it is your aunt, it is your grandmother from your father's side, it is your aunt's colleague that you have known forever who's always joining around these festive periods. Because if it were a stranger, you could easily cut the conversation and just walk away. But because it's someone that you will see over and over again, whether it's at family gatherings or just because they are in your life permanently, sometimes these questions hit so different because you know this person and they're a person that actually hold some level, some sort of importance or at least a space in your life. And that's why a question from them tends to trigger you. Okay, so here is the first thing that I want you to understand. Just because somebody is asking a question, it does not mean that it is a reflection of your truth. Just because somebody is framing something as a problem, it doesn't mean that it is a problem. When somebody says, why don't you have a car yet? It's because they are thinking in terms of their timeline, their values, and their definition of success, not yours. And so truth be told, you don't have to accept their framing. And a big mindset shift that I always remind myself even is that their problem, or rather their discomfort with my life, is not a problem for me to solve. Their discomfort with your life is not a problem for you to solve. If your aunt is uncomfortable that you're 32 and unmarried, it's her discomfort, it's not your failure. If your dad's colleague is uncomfortable with the type of position or the type of job that you do, it's their discomfort, not your inadequacy. You are allowed to be on your own timeline. You are allowed to define success for yourself. You are allowed to enjoy the life that you have, the life that you are building, and not necessarily the version of somebody else's. So I'm not saying that the questions will not hurt. I know that sometimes they do. But in the moment when you get that question and you might start to feel that you're being triggered, or you might start to feel like it's opening up a wound, I want you to remind yourself that the question that they're asking, the comment that they're making, is more a reflection of them than it is of you. Sometimes that is the only way that they can connect with you. There are some people who only know marriage, and so for them, that is the only measure of anything in life. So when they want to speak to you, they don't know what else to talk about, and so they bring up marriage. There are others who only know their careers. There's nothing else that matters. And when they want to strike up a conversation, they strike up conversations around careers. Or for them, because it's such a big part of their identity, and they feel that their worth is tied to their job, they tend to think that that is the same for everyone else. And so then they ask you certain questions. Maybe they have their own regrets. Maybe they have their own issues. Maybe there is something else, but it is more a reflection of them rather than you or the position that you're currently in. And so before you respond out loud to the questions, remind yourself that your timeline is not wrong. Your timeline is different. Remind yourself that your version or your definition of success is not wrong, it's different, and that you are absolutely allowed to be different. Okay, you don't have to defend your choices to anyone, and that just because things are different doesn't mean that it is a failure. Approach number 2, and this is where you are going to redirect it in the most gracious way possible. So you've worked on the mindset. You know that their questions are not a reflection of your truth. But what do you actually say in the moment? How do you actually respond? I'm going to share a structure with you. So with the structure, number 1, you're going to acknowledge the question. You acknowledge it graciously. Number 2, you will then redirect it to something neutral or something positive. And then number 3, ask them a question. People love to talk about themselves. The more questions you have for them, the better. So if you get a question like, why aren't you getting married? You aren't getting any younger. You can just talk about how excited you are about your career right now. And, you know, it's a season of your life that you are very much enjoying. But you've heard that their daughter graduated recently. Tell me about that. How are your kids doing? You didn't defend yourself. You didn't attack them. You didn't have to make up any excuses. And you just redirected it so that they could speak about something. And as you can see, the conversation actually remains quite positive. So we're not going to become too defensive. We're not going to attack anyone. We're not going to cut anyone off. You know, it is December. As much as they might be annoying with their questions, some people, it's not really coming from a malicious place. Approach number 3, and this is where you set boundaries and you set it up with love, because you do get some people, even though you want to redirect the conversation in the most gracious way, they are relentless. They don't stop. They keep with the questions. They're like, yeah, no, my kid graduated, they're doing good, but what about you? And they just keep going on and on and on. So when it comes to the boundary with love, I'm pulling a lot here from what I teach on assertive communication. But firstly, you need to be direct, okay? You have to be direct. You have to be kind, and kind does not mean nice. Kind means telling the truth. Kind is not being nice where you avoid things so that you don't hurt other people's feelings. And finally, you have to be firm. So you're going to be direct, you're going to be kind, and you're going to be firm. Okay, so here's the structure that you're going to follow when you are with that person who just will not stop. They're not ceasing with the questions. You are going to name how you actually feel. Then you're going to set a boundary. And then finally, you're going to give them an alternative. So either we end this conversation now or we can actually talk about something else. So let's say we've got Auntie, she is just not stopping. And here she is asking you again, when are you going to get married? Don't you want kids? I want you to say something like, Auntie, I know that you care for me and I appreciate that. But these questions and this conversation about marriage and kids, it's actually stressing me out right now. When we meet up, I would prefer if we spoke about other things. I saw that you started a new garden, and you're growing vegetables. How's that going? Tell me about that. So you have stated how it made you feel. You've set the boundary that I don't want to talk about this. I want to talk about something else. And then you've given an alternative. It's all about your garden, something that I'm into and that you're also clearly into. Let's talk about something completely different. But the key here is that you're not being aggressive. And that's the lovely thing about boundaries and actually being an assertive person. You're not being aggressive. You're not completely cutting them off. But you are respecting your rights in this conversation. And you have every right to shut down conversations that you do not want to be a part of, especially when the inquiry is just on your life and you're always feeling attacked here. But it's someone that you love and someone that you do want to continue speaking to. And so you can actually set that boundary. Now, even with all of these tools, sometimes we still get moments where we are completely triggered. And this, you will feel it in your body. Your body just feels like it is under attack. And the first thing that I want you to do is just to breathe, literally breathe, and breathe in deeply. If you think about it, when you're under attack, when you're stressed, when you're having a panic attack, you're not breathing in deeply, you're breathing in shallow. So I actually want you to breathe in deeply because that starts to relax your body. It starts to let your body and your mind know that you're not under attack, you are okay. So take a moment and just breathe in deeply. Second thing I want you to do is to buy yourself time. You don't have to answer any question. You can literally respond with, that is such an interesting question. Let me think about that. Or, you know what? I need to go grab some water. I'll be right back. You don't have to answer anything. You don't have to stay in the moment if you don't want to. You can buy yourself time to either think about whether you want to continue with this conversation or you want to walk away and do something completely different. And then finally, I want you to give yourself the permission to feel it later. Don't feel like you have to, if you are in these type of conversations and maybe you did give an alternative but that feeling or that trigger still stuck with you, allow yourself to feel it later, because the thing is, if you trap all of these, it just builds up to resentment, it builds up to anger, and these are not the type of things that you're trying to take with you into the next year. Okay, so when you have a moment later, feel it, journal it out, talk it out loud, but get it out one way or another. So here's what I really want for you to take away from this. You are not obligated to perform at the version of somebody else's definition of success, definition of progress, definition of perfect. You are not obligated to do that. You're not behind, you're not failing, you're not less than, you're not inadequate. Your timeline is different. Okay, and the thing is, for the choices that you make, you don't owe anyone an explanation for that. So a mindset shift that you're going to practice is knowing that their question is not a reflection of your truth. You are going to use the gracious redirect. So they ask you a question, you think about something else that you want to talk about, and then you direct it in that direction. If that doesn't work, you've got the boundary setting. So you say, I don't appreciate this. It makes me feel this kind of way. This is what I want to talk about, or I will allow for us to talk about. And then you redirect the conversation as well. And then finally, remember that you belong in the rooms that you decide to be in. Okay. And where you are right now, this is where you need to be. And I know that God is going to direct you and move you into the right place from where you are. If you found this helpful and you are looking for more tools to really just navigate difficult conversations, difficult questions, whether it is for your personal life or your professional life, I encourage you to join the You Belong Speakers Club. In this club, we tackle these kind of situations because it's all about real scenarios, real coaching on those scenarios, and real practice for you. So we meet every second week virtually, where we have a practice ground and you have a whole community that is rooting for your progress and your development in your speaking journey. It costs 650 South African rands a month, and you get all of that and more. I cannot wait to see you on the inside. Let's handle this December and let's keep on thriving in our communication.